No, you're gonna form the subcommittee.
Yes.
And talk about, and
Yes.
then we'll
And
come
what
back.
about
But
swapping?
we're not postponing this public meeting
Where'd you get
because
those
it's gonna be
giant
changed.
We'll just
from what it was
reestablish
anyway.
another public
Thank you.
hearing.
Yes, we'll reestablish
All right.
a public hearing when that
When the
time
recommendations
comes.
come back.
Yes. Where'd Fred go?
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Let's just post one more time.
Hi. Well, no, Fred, I need some time. Susan's not back yet. Here, stay on the phone with me. We'll stay on the phone and I'll let you know when she comes back. Right.
Oh my
How
god.
about those Yankees?
Okay.
All right, so maybe can you give me 1 minute? All right,
Well,
1
that was
minute.
me, and I didn't know it.
Thank you, Fred.
Oh, the wetlands.
All right, 1 minute.
Oh, my
Okay, I came from that other event, so I forgot my bottles.
I was so upset. No one told me. I wish they would have told me.
So is the sewer break not clear? It's flowing.
30 seconds.
Is it a break or was it just got blocked? Huh? Grease. Really?
What happened?
Where?
That's enormous.
You heard there's
Oh.
power out at Concord? Not Concord, Old Orchard.
Was it?
That's an enormous.
We got to record that for the
That's
FATS
isn't it?
law,
I
right?
love it.
For
So you
that,
have
or
a big
go after that.
iPad,
Yeah.
but I'm not worth it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get the hand-me-down.
But then
I
we have
got
to,
one.
Five
see if we
seconds.
can figure out, the source?
So this was a hand-me-down. Julie was using it, but then she
okay.
didn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, March 14th. It's 7:50. Apologize for the late start for those watching on TV and for those in the audience. We've just come from executive session where we discussed board, commission, and committee appointments. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing on local law amending Chapter 217, Section 7, 8, and 9 of the Village Code concerning stormwater. Considering we really haven't had movement on this, what I'd like to do is, as this is a continuation of the public hearing that's been kind of open for a while, we're gonna just go ahead and close this public hearing and take no action on it. We will have a new public hearing when we're ready and the time comes. So can I have a motion second to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And I think no further action is required at this time.
No further action. Nope, you've closed the public hearing, no action taken on any
Okay.
resolution.
All right, so resolution number 2, considering a renewal of an inter-municipal agreement with Westchester County for enhanced 911 services.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook desires to enter into an agreement with Westchester County for the provision of enhanced 911 services, or E911, and whereas Westchester County is to provide an agreement for a term of 5 years commencing October 1st, 2022 through September 27th, 2027, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook authorizes the mayor and administrator to sign all documents necessary to enter into an IMA with Westchester County.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any explanation? I think this is pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. This is our agreement that allows us to work with the county for 911.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 3, considering the adoption of local adjustments for homestead and non-homestead base proportions.
Whereas in January 2005, the Board of Trustees adopted a local law establishing homestead-based proportions, and whereas the Town of Leicester has prepared homestead and non-homestead-based proportions for the Village of Rybrook's review, and whereas on February 16th, 2023, the Town Board of the Town of Rye adopted a resolution that establishes 2 separate rates for the Village of Rybrook pursuant to the real property tax law, 1, the homestead base proportion at a rate equal to 77.944206, and 2, the non-homestead base proportions at a rate equal to 22.055794, and B, authorizes the town assessor to file a statement of locally determined homestead base proportions based on the 2022 assessment roll for the 2023-2024 village budget and tax rates. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook also wishes to concur and adopt the local adjustments to these base homestead-based proportions that will be used to establish a homestead tax rate and a non-homestead tax rate for the 2023-24 village budget and tax rates. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook hereby concurs with the Town of Rye and adopts for fiscal year 23-24 village tax purposes a homestead rate equal to 77.944206 and a non-homestead based proportions at a rate of 22.055794. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents to implement the purpose of this resolution. And be it further resolved, the town assessor and tax collector are authorized and directed to make any filings on behalf of Rybrook and to take any additional actions necessary to implement the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Second.
So again, these are set by the town. And for those watching at home, if you added up those two numbers, it would equal 100%. Because it's basically just divvying up what the percentage of the homestead, meaning the residential properties pay, versus the non-homestead, the commercial properties and other properties within the Village of Rybrook.
And the board has the flexibility to do different rates, but this is the rate that is most advantageous to the residential or homestead properties.
Right. Thank you, Chris. That's an important point, that this is, trying to look out for the residents of Rybrook to keep it as low as possible, recognizing at the same time, though, that the commercial properties are a very important aspect of the village. Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 4, considering an agreement with Southeast Consortium for Special Recreation Services.
Whereas the Southeast Consortium is an organization that provides recreation services for those with intellectual developmental disabilities, and whereas the village currently has an agreement with Southeast Consortium for special recreation services and wishes to continue using these services, and whereas the cost of these services is $7,381 annually, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook authorizes the mayor and administrator to execute said agreement and deliver all documents necessary to effectuate the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
This is something we do every year.
Yep. And this is a municipal consortium, basically of 12 municipalities in the Sound Shore area, and they provide really great services for individuals with disabilities. Also helps us all comply with the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. And the rate has remained unchanged for 3 years.
And we're very appreciative of
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Any questions or comments?
Good program.
I'd like to know how they never have to change their rate.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 5, considering setting a public hearing on a proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law Section 3C for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2023.
Now therefore be resolved that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook on Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m., which will include opportunities for interested members of the public to provide written and oral comments on the proposed local law authorizing a real property tax levy in excess of the limit established by General Municipal Law Section 3C for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
I say this every year. New York State is a home rule state. It leaves the municipal decisions up to the municipalities. To me, this is the tax cap that was placed on the municipalities with unfunded mandates is an overreach by the state. And we will certainly do everything in our power to remain within the tax cap because that's in the best interest of our residents. However, the state should not be telling us what we can and can't do. And so I am always in favor of overriding the tax cap if we feel it necessary. Now, in my 10 years on the board, we have overridden that tax cap once. And that was when we built the highway garage.
And the tax cert.
And we had the
settlement.
taxers and the storms and and the sewer system.
Yep.
So it was a trifecta.
Yes.
So it is certainly our hope that we will not have to enact this, but it is, in my opinion, that it is the village's option to do so should it need to.
Do you want to explain to those who are watching what the consequences are of breaking the tax cap?
Sure. So originally the tax cap, when it was put in place, New York State mandated that, I think it was schools and municipalities, that all taxing entities stay under a certain tax cap, which is about 2% per year. And what the state was going to do was then issue reimbursement checks to all of the residents within that municipality and if the taxing district. And if the taxing district decided to go over the tax cap, its residents would not receive those checks. Now, we've stopped receiving those checks how long ago?
I was gonna say,
The day they
Long time
adopted it,
ago.
right?
A long time ago.
So, but yet the law still remains in place.
And all the promised mandate relief, as the mayor said,
Right.
never happened.
And there was promised mandate relief along with that, and yet there still continue to be a number of unfunded mandates by the state sent to the municipalities and the county governments, and the potential of more to come in the housing.
Well, let me ask what I assume is a fairly naive question then. Since we get nothing for staying under the tax cap, other than the fact that it's always desirable to have as low a tax increase as possible, what is the advantage of even paying attention to the tax cap?
None, but it's in law, and so if we are going to break the tax cap,
We have to
we
vote
have
on
to pass a local law
Say
saying that we're
we
going to
can
do
do
so.
it.
That's
We
fine,
may
I'm
do
just
it.
saying this.
Did I get that?
You're absolutely right. Yep. And the tax cap is 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. So that's why sometimes it's under 2%, sometimes it's 2%. This year it's 2%. But we do get other carve outs like exemptions. There's certain exemptions. So there's also certain items that you can carry over from year to year. But generally, like our tax cap limit this year was like 2.8 something. So it was very limiting. The part that's most frustrating, at least for me, is the fact that our capital projects are not don't factor into it. So what you get, thankfully not in Rybrook because we have a commitment to reinvest in our infrastructure, but in New York State with this aging infrastructure, we have this tax cap that the capital costs count against the cap, which means a lot of municipalities, as a result, are trying to stay within the cap for other reasons, and they're deferring capital. So people in the state with aging infrastructure are not continuing to reinvest, and that's one of the biggest concerns that I know I personally have.
So it's a disincentive to stay on top
to
of
do
things.
capital.
yeah.
And meanwhile, the schools, capital R is exempt, so it makes no sense. There's no logic to that.
Should I say also?
Why not?
Any other questions?
And that's
comments?
that.
And that's that.
Stephanie,
Nothing we can
it's your
do about
turn.
it.
Pick up.
So again, we are not voting right now
Put that in the minutes.
to put this local law into effect. We're setting a public hearing on it so that in the event that we do have to break the tax cap, we have the ability to do so.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, many years, on 9 out of the 10 years I've been on the board, what we've done is we've set the public hearing and never gone through with it because we didn't have to. It's our hope that we do that again
Correct.
this year, but we still need to set the public hearing in the event that we have to. Any questions, comments?
No.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And as the resolution said, this public hearing would be on April 11th, which is when the budget presentation is.
And the budget public hearing.
And the budget public hearing. Yes. It's gonna be a busy night.
Yep.
All right, resolution number 6, considering approval of the minutes for the meeting held on November 22nd, 2022.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meeting held on November 22nd, 2022.
Thank you. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Administrator's report.
Okay, I only have 2 really quick items, because all things budget these days, it's all on my mind, I think. Just a reminder, the budget's due on March 20th, and that is next Monday, and it will be a completely virtual budget. So we'll have a lot more information available, and people will be able to look at other old information as well as other comparisons and charts and graphs and be able to look at it differently and manipulate the data a little bit to get information in terms of trying to find or at least sort it different ways and different comparisons that you might be looking for. So that'll be out there on March 20th. And the board has set 2 work sessions, and they're both at 6 p.m. on March 27th and April 10th. That's all.
Okay, great. And I know that there are some trustees that may like a hard copy.
The older ones.
We'll have the ability to print out it'll look very different, but
It's going to look very different from what there's.
from the past.
What I
No,
would-
there's no workbook. Everything, remember, this
What
is
I
our
would
new
suggest-
system. This is what we've been implementing for months now.
And what I would suggest is that you find a little time to maybe come to
Get
Village
comfortable.
Hall. For the board, that if you find a little time to come to Village Hall and have Chris
Yes.
or Greg or someone or Trish walk you through
What it's going to look like.
what it's going to look like and how to access the information. I was lucky enough to get a demonstration from Chris the other day, and to me, it's going to be much easier to access on my computer. You know, it'll be tougher in having the references, but I usually take the notes on the side, and I find if you're doing that, but it's actually there's so much more information available this way, and you're able to see year to year, the line by line. And the one question I
all
had,
the workbooks will be, everything's going to be right there in front of you. So
Right.
you're going to be able to click on it, look at every attachment, click on any comments about what the fund's about, all in one spot.
and I'll still be calling you because I know I'm still gonna have problems finding the fee schedule, but I'll find it. But you know, this is part of our move to go fully digital. It makes it much easier from a budgeting standpoint. It makes it much better as far as visibility and clarity, transparency.
Residents will be able to pull down the areas that they're all pulled down menus, trying to find what they're looking for instead of scrolling through just, PDFs, which is what it typically is.
Right.
So this is a much more intuitive back and forth system.
Right, you can get much more quickly to a specific item by just clicking on that item. Why are you smirking? No, just put pictures of things in there.
Oh, you were pleased with how it worked out this year?
It's been great. It's been great. A lot of work setting up the first year.
Fabulous, much easier.
Next year will be a lot easier, but this year you have to set it all the templates up. You got to set up all the format, all the history. So it took a lot more this year. Like we're having regular meetings with ClearGov about how to display it different ways and so forth. But it'll make it so much easier next year.
Good.
Man, it's a great system to have in place.
Yeah,
Certainly.
definitely.
So we do have those.
And because we did the transparency program for 12 years, whatever, all that data was already
That's
loaded. you know?
right.
Right, so expect on Monday, I guess we'll get the link to it.
Link to it. There's also going to be on the website. It'll be a button to push, and you'll get right up to the budget, the digital budget book. But the board's going to get a lot more background information like you typically see in your workbooks. So you'll get a link to that as well.
Right, so we'll get the request, be able to see the requests as usual.
You'll see
Where
what the
the
department
changes
asked
were
for.
made.
You'll see what the changes were that Trish and I did. You'll see all the backup that the department submitted. All the information will be there
Great.
in one spot.
Yeah, and then we have our budget hearings on
But
the
it'll be different.
27th.
It'll be different.
We have our budget hearings on the 27th.
The workshops are, the work sessions
Work
are on
sessions.
March 27th and April 10th.
April 10th, right.
6 o'clock.
With that 6
6 o'clock.
o'clock. with then the 11th to be the public hearing.
Correct, which you'll set at the next meeting.
Right. Any questions on that? I remember the days when the police used to show up at my door.
I know, I like
I remember the first time it happened. I was home alone, and an officer showed up at my door, and I got really scared. It really scared me.
Yeah, now
If
they
my
never
family
come
had-
around.
If my family had been home at the time, I think I would have felt more comfortable.
Neighbors freak out
Oh,
because they don't know what's going on, and they always say, "Why are the police at your door?"
So yes, so expect that on the 20th, next Monday, and then we'll have to dive in because we only have really a week to look at it before our first workshop starts, and we start trying to tweak it a little bit, and then that's always hard with Chris, and then we've got a break for a while, and then the second workshop is right before. Does that give you enough time? I guess.
Doesn't matter to me. We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because you usually show in your presentation the changes that we've made.
It's fine. It's
When will it
straightforward.
be released?
That's
What
easy to
time?
do.
What time will it be released?
The I'll
morning?
give you the day. It's going to be March 20th.
At some point on the 20th.
Depends how much I do over the week. I have to finish up over the weekend.
Right.
All right.
All right.
Couldn't stay awake.
So,
No, I'm not. I just want to know if I could work on it that
Spring
day.
break in
Yeah,
there.
well, that's why we're not meeting that week.
yeah. Otherwise, we normally would have met that week.
Yeah,
I was
We usually
bring my
meet-
computer with me when I go away.
We usually meet consecutive Mondays.
yeah.
Um,
And you also have a holiday between there too, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to old business. So at our last board meeting, we had a public hearing that on a proposed leaf blower legislation, and we left that public hearing open until April 11th.
Do you think we should do it that day, or should we move it? It sounds like that day might be
Oh,
kind of
dude,
crazy.
we already said it. That's.
Oh.
So we're gonna. I wanted to do it beforehand, but there were some people who will remain nameless, former mayors, who said that wouldn't be enough time, and so we should push it to the 11th.
Okay.
So I'm very thankful to them for giving us a late night. But so so the public hearing was remained open, but we knew right from the beginning of that meeting, based upon comments from the Sustainability Committee, that there were going to be changes to the proposed legislation. And in order for us to have that public hearing on the 11th, we have to have noticed what we intend, or what the proposed legislation is, at least 10 days prior. So it means we have to have this discussion tonight of what changes, if any, we want to see to the proposed legislation. So I'll just go ahead and start, because we know that the Sustainability Committee had recommended that, well, the proposed legislation as it stands allows for, prohibits electric leaf blowers during the course of the year. It allows it only, only at the same time that the gas leaf blowers are allowed. The Sustainability Committee mentioned that they were recommending a change to that electric leaf blowers be allowed year-round. So let me just start with that. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Electric leaf blowers all year long.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Why do they need it in certain months? I mean, how often do you use it in January?
It's more
If
so
they're
for
not
the-
going to use it, they're not going to use it.
It's not as much for the January. I think it's really for
The summer?
the hardscapes in the
People
in
blow
the
snow
summer.
off their cars.
I've seen
Really?
it.
Yeah,
I've seen it when it's like
You're
yeah,
kidding me.
absolutely. I do it.
I don't think
That's why it's
changing
so
anything
noisy.
really makes a difference.
Electric, you know.
You should probably mention the Sustainability Committee met too, and is going to get something by the end of the month.
right. And the Sustainability Committee also met this past Thursday, and will be getting us a further report and recommendation on this. It may have some tweaks to the timing. That was kind of, I attended the meeting. There may be some tweaks to the timing, and they are most likely recommending the removal of exemptions. So, but I think we already know we want to include the electric being allowed year-round.
And when you say you allow year-round, we're just gonna allow that during the banned period,
During the,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
during the ban
Whenever.
period.
Yep. Because by default, it'll be okay the rest of the time.
Right. Another suggestion I would make, because we're having this public hearing on April 11th, we're already getting into the season, into spring. By the time everything gets passed, we're looking into May, June, that I would suggest that 2023 be a pilot year, and that this law not go in effect until January 1st of 2024.
That sounds good.
The law being that for the remainder of this calendar year, they could still continue to use gas blowers.
Correct. Unless we think that it can go into effect immediately, but with the caveat that it not be enforced, that there be warnings issued only.
Then it's in effect then.
Yeah. I don't like the
Which
whole
I don't-
warning thing.
I think we just put it in effect next year and
Yeah.
be done with it.
I'm good for next
Let
year.
people mull it over. They gotta think about buying equipment. They don't know what they're gonna get. People gotta figure out how they're gonna pay for it. Homeowners are gonna figure out how they're gonna pay their landscapers, because all pricing is gonna change across the board, right? I mean,
And I
you know,
It's
think
really
that's-
only
I think
4
they're-
months of the year when they barely
yeah,
use them.
and
It's-
we get to see some other more information.
it's only a few months of Stephanie
So-
just said, it's really only 4 to 6 months of the year where they're banned, 4 months when they would be in use. They're not in use that much. I would also point out that, as we saw from the Sustainability Committee's presentation, the majority of municipalities in Westchester already have these in effect.
And they're changing them, right? They keep
And
tweaking them every time
They
we
have
turn
not
around.
seen, in those municipalities, they have not seen significant impacts to the prices they're paying. Now, is there anything that, I would ask both Ralph and Chris, is there anything, if we're not considering when we're saying potentially putting it into effect January 1st, as opposed to putting it in effect immediately?
Well, I think if you do that, it would be helpful, because then we could do an educational campaign. We could even put, I'm even thinking this is going into effect. We could start to really let the public know now that that's taking effect in January, so people could start to look to buy whatever equipment. Maybe after the season, there'll be better
Right.
pricing.
Oh, yeah.
We could maybe do something Rybrook Birthday, where maybe Sustainability Committee could come and give, show people different types of equipment. Maybe
And
hold
it's at Crawford
a
Park,
day
the
at
Rybrook
Crawford
Birthday,
Park.
so
Yeah,
they
Yeah,
can-
so
offer
there's
a
things that we
demonstration
could
on
do
electric
demonstration.
Their equipment.
So I think it's a good opportunity to use the time to provide education and also let people know it's coming. You need to start to think about, if you want to do this,
I know.
either talk to your landscapers or look to buy certain equipment.
Yeah, all right, so 2023 would be the educational year,
That's what I like.
where what we're doing is really getting the word out there, and it gives everyone time to adjust. So I think
Okay.
I think we're in agreement on that.
Yes.
Definitely an educational year. Now,
Okay.
now voting on it. When we plan on voting on something like this?
This would be at the
April 11th.
Well, so why can't we wait to vote on it? Why can't
Well,
we do it
'cause
in
you wouldn't be
June,
able to-
July? Why do we have to vote on it?
The more time we have to educate, the better.
Right, so let's vote
No,
on
but
it.
we need to know what the legislation is going to be.
Why can't we make up the legislation in 2 months from now? Why does it have to be made up tonight or this
Because
month?
then there's unsurety for that 2 months.
What unsurety? We'll get more information to help us write the legislation.
I personally am not in favor of that.
All right, okay, my thought.
So,
We can educate ourselves with the legislation. We have time.
I've been
Now we have
studying
time.
this- I've been
We have
studying
time
this for
because
10 years, so has
we're not going
the
to enact it
Sustainability
until
Committee.
2024. So we have time to act on it.
Sal,
What's the rush?
my thinking would be that if we do it on April 11th, we're basically giving everyone who uses gas leaf blowers in the village of Rybrook 7.5 months to get their act together. If you do it, let's say, on July 1st, you're only giving them 6 months. So you're giving them less time to conform to the law.
and less
You
time
know,
for
you
us
know,
to put
we
the
know
word out there.
we're gonna have something. We know that. It's just a question of when, right?
Once
Something's gonna happen.
No, but it's,
once it's passed, they're gonna have to take it seriously.
right.
Well, I think we should put off the vote anyway. That's my opinion. But I think we're rushing. I really do.
Did we,
Considering, I would respectfully disagree, considering that I first brought a leaf blower ban to the village board's attention when I was chair of the Sustainability Committee 12 years ago.
Okay, that was 12 years ago.
So I've had 12 years to study it.
And look what happened. It got shot down. So
I hear what you're saying. I hear what he's saying. The issue is that we also have the budget that night.
Right, that's
So
another
putting it
thing.
off
We have a lot-
for
we have a lot
one meeting
going on.
Would not really
Well,
impact
we've already
it.
set the public hearing as April 11th.
Can we leave it open?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Not sure that'd be fair to the residents
No?
who are gonna show up.
Well, they'll know about it. But that's neither here nor there. The issue for me is if we are going to take away exemptions, et cetera, did we do any, since I watched it on video, did we find out the people that have long-term contracts when their contracts are up? Because they made it clear to you that they had an issue with that. So did we find out any information? In other words, the HOAs, they have longer-term
I did-
contracts.
No, we didn't inquire about that. Could we? Yes, we could.
I just feel like there's more homework to be done. That's, because if they can't comply, then that is certainly an issue, so passing the law is not
Do
gonna
their
help.
contracts necessarily, what wasn't
They,
mentioned.
well, they all said that they're not just yearly.
Right, but no, but what wasn't mentioned was whether their contracts specify specific equipment that needs to be used.
the cost is going to change. That's the problem. It's going to take them longer. And equipment is more money, based on that document here that gives you cost of what equipment costs. And so I'm just thinking that maybe things may change in the next. I mean, a lot of places are adopting this law, but maybe things will change in the next 3 months. You know, equipment is going to change. Maybe I just think we're pushing it down people's throats.
But if equipment changes in the next 3 months.
I mean, we're already,
still be
it's a
before
shame they didn't have
laws
hybrid
taking-
leaf blowers. Wouldn't that be nice, a hybrid leaf blower?
No, it wouldn't.
I mean, it's a step in the right
Electric leaf blower
direction. We're
would be nice.
gradually bringing it into play. I think it's a quick,
Ralph, you being the only practicing attorney up here, I believe that if the service provider's costs go up, and if the equipment limitations are in effect, it would be up to the service provider to then go to the contracting party and say, we would like to renegotiate, but they don't have a right.
Unless there's some sort of a clause that
Clause.
allows them to do that in their contract. But I agree with you with the premise, yes.
That's an interesting thought.
that's an interesting thought. I
It's my
think
one
that-
interesting thought.
I like that. That was good. That was a good.
To it.
That was. I will give you credit for that for sure. That's very good. But I don't know if that's something that you'd see these landscapers do.
They're not gonna eat the cost.
Well, I don't think they're even going to put that clause in there, because I don't think they're going to be hiring lawyers to do that.
The truth is, they're gonna move towards it. Now that we've educated them, that we are headed this way.
Yeah.
They now know the boat is being steered in that direction, so they will be buying, if they're going to replace anything, that's what they're going to replace it with. Okay,
And
so,
again, we're only talking about like 4 months, when the leaves aren't even coming down.
Right, this still allows leaf blowers to be used
In October, November.
when the bulk of the work is. For the most part,
Right.
what leaf blowers are being used for in that off season, is for after they mow, there's some grass clippings on a deck, they blow the grass clippings off the deck. Because the gas plowers are also allowed in the spring cleanup. So, and one of the recommendations coming from Sustainability Committee, it seems maybe a tweaking of the timing, because as we've seen with climate change, that maybe things don't fall exactly in the same season. So there may be some tweaking of the timing. But again, this is using for the the hardscapes on properties after the mowing is what these are being used for. And as one of the contractors pointed out in the public hearing, that's typically about 5 minutes of property. So it's not a huge part of what they're doing as far as yard maintenance is concerned.
right. I have one other concern, and that is, neighbors are going to be pitted against neighbors with this. And it's not very neighborly to report on one's neighbor. How are we,
That's in effect right now with the noise ordinance. That's the way it is right now with the noise ordinance.
I know, but when you don't know if somebody's using a gas blower versus a electric blower, this is going to take up a lot of manpower hours for our police. Are we sending the police? Are they issuing tickets? Are they issuing fines? That's my
If it's a law, they're gonna issue, they may give warnings, they may issue tickets, depends on the situation. You know, but they're gonna use that judgment like they do in any of the laws. But if it's, otherwise, why have a law? If you're, yeah, you
And
got,
I would point out that that's why the original legislation banned both
Right, because we
gas
didn't want
and
them-
electric
right.
during that off period. However, we want to keep in mind the residents' right to maintain their property as they see fit with the best available equipment.
can I just ask one point of clarification? The electric leaf blowers, that can be used anywhere on the property or just on the hardscapes?
Anywhere.
Anyway,
Okay.
I
just
think we're
asking for
saying
clarity.
anywhere, yeah. It would be even more difficult to eliminate.
How are we
this.
gonna,
But we know
That'd
that
be tougher
really
to
it's only
enforce.
being used
Just
on
asking, I need
hardscapes.
clarification
Yeah.
for the law, that's
Because
all.
for the most part, I mean, unless you're mowing right after the rain, that's when you get the clumping.
Or if it's, yeah, non-mulching mowers, make it more clumping.
But you're getting the clumping
fine.
when it's,
It's fine. I just need to know for the law, that's all.
and mostly I think they're just blowing it around. I don't think because they're not blowing it out to the street, we're not collecting anything.
No.
For me at least, now I don't own a leaf blower, so I have no dog in this fight. The purpose of what we are trying to do is, we're not being arbitrary and capricious. What we're trying to do is limit air pollution, limit noise pollution. We can't eliminate it completely, but we can try to do is reduce it. And this is one way of reducing it. It's a compromise. We're allowing electric blowers, which also blow particulates throughout. They also make noise. It's not a perfect world, but it will be a better world. And we can't lose track of the fact that all we're trying to do is make things better.
right.
Yep.
Right. Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. And I think, yeah, that is how we're looking at this, is incremental steps. And, to not make it egregiously difficult on anybody, and at the same time, try and make those steps towards a reduction in the noise and certainly the air pollution, which to me is the bigger issue. And there are some communities that have completely banned gas leaf blowers altogether, year round. And maybe that's a step we take in the future, but I don't think as a board or as a community we're ready for that step. So, all right, the big topic of conversation,
yeah.
I think, the exemptions. So, I know it's the recommendation of the Sustainability Committee, or will be, it seems, to not have any exemptions. Again, I feel like this is a compromise. Personally, I'm okay exempting the village, but including in this legislation, which has not been included yet, that exemption does not extend to parks. And that we would want only electric blowers being used in our parks.
Do we have that equipment now?
Look at Michael,
No.
he's paying attention now.
And
Well,
we budgeted
okay,
for that.
so what-
equipment.
We have some ordered.
No, what we have, just to give you an update, we are looking to purchase the equipment, as I said in the past. We're evaluating right now 2 different products that Michael has set up. One is, we're looking at Husqvarna and Steel. And Husqvarna came down and gave a demonstration of their equipment just earlier this week on Monday. And Michael invited a lot of the landscapers and all that were interested. Anybody who's interested can come down. So people have come to the meetings, extended an invitation there. We actually have it, and they're letting us borrow it for like 2 weeks, something like that, 2 weeks. So we're able to use it and try it. So these
Anybody
are,
want to try it?
No.
Contractors.
Us and the
know how to use
contractors.
it.
They gotta sign up, not residents. This
I
is,
was gonna say.
this is
You guys
commercial,
might
just to
wanna
be
get
clear,
rollerblades and-
this is commercial equipment. This is like heavy backpack equipment, heavy batteries on your back. These are not, this is not light equipment. This is, commercial grade. And it has, just to be clear again, so we're gonna be purchasing one of the two. And, whichever we find, is most appropriate. And, we've already committed that we're gonna use it in our parks.
So
Just
we're
to be-
budgeted for that?
No, we're gonna just do it out of the budget that we have and make the money work, so. We're gonna use it out of available
expensive.
money that we have in the account, that's all. But yeah, something else we'll forego something else.
Michael,
But
how is the equipment?
I think he needs to talk to us.
it's,
You gonna talk
well, it's not as strong as gas. They've said that, and Michael can comment on it too if he's comfortable, but
Yeah.
basically it's not as strong as gas. It's very expensive.
It's not gonna be.
Just one setup backpack blower will cost $1,500 from Husqvarna. So the backpack blowers, guys, so the backpack blowers will cost around $1,500 with one battery. We need more. It's another $1,000 for another battery. So you're talking about $2,500
Plus
for
the charger.
plus. No, that includes one charger. So that's two charges would be, another $200. So it'll be like 27. They're big backpack batteries. Yeah, they last. That's what will last.
45
That's what
minutes.
gets you from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That's it. That's what you get.
this
But
what
on the
they
small
also-
batteries, you're going to get on the commercial, you'll get 20 minutes, out of them. So you
So
need
what do
to.
the landscapers have to use? Those batteries also?
Depends on which blowers they want.
Reasons
Yeah.
Why we waited so long was to have the mainstream companies like Husqvarna and Steel come into the market. Okay, because these are your mainstream arborist tools, landscaper equipment. This isn't your Makita, DeWalt, Home Depot brands, and I'm not knocking them. And this isn't a pitch
They have a
or
purpose.
against. Okay,
No, these
everybody
are
has
commercial.
their purpose.
These are
Yeah.
commercial.
These are commercial industry grade equipment. So that's where we're at right now with these two brands. And the city of Rye is actually looking at Husqvarna as well, and they had a demo just recently as well. And they're going away from the brand that they have at the moment potentially. But yeah, you're looking at 15 to 1700 per setup for one battery for a backpack blower.
That's a backpack, a battery, and a charger.
Battery and
One
charger.
backpack, one battery, one charger.
How much? 1,500 you said?
15, well, yeah,
Yeah.
anywhere from 15 to 1700, okay, depending on brand. You're looking at 45 minutes runtime on high,
Turbo.
on turbo basically. So not even high, it's turbo output. You're looking at an output of anywhere 50 to 60% of the output of your gas-powered equipment. You're looking at a 3-hour charge time with the fast charger.
So you,
With the regular
which is why
charger,
you
it's
need
11
two
to
batteries.
13
2,
hours.
3, whatever you need, right?
So 45 minutes,
So you need two batteries
At
per
least two.
at
minimum.
least two batteries. If
At
you-
least 2 batteries.
At least two, but
And
probably we
those
can
are
afford.
$1,000 each, those batteries.
Yeah.
$969 a piece.
Wow.
And the life expectancy.
We're not getting.
The 5 to 7 years for the battery.
Life expectancy is 5 to 7 years. Understand, lithium ion has the benefit that it has no memory. So
Yep.
you could charge it at 20%, 80,
Right.
as many times as you
Right.
want. But let's be honest, it's a battery. So there will be degradation over time. Let's be honest, okay? But Husqvarna, the pack that they brought down is 2015, 16,
Yeah.
I believe. So you're looking
15.
at 6, 7 years at the moment. But that's a demo unit. So questions came up. It's not used every day. It's not fully being drawn. But as of right now, we do have a unit that's here. That's 5, 6 years old easily. And we're going to play with it and see how it works. So,
So
at
we
the
know we need
moment, that is,
other costs. We're gonna have to buy a cabinet. We're gonna have to.
we're going to
We need two backpack blowers. So you're looking at two backpack blowers times the two batteries too, for each one.
And extra
Mike-
batteries.
Mike-
Well, yeah, on
Well,
each
if
one.
you're
Otherwise,
looking
you won't
at-
get the charge.
No, I'm saying.
Let's just say 25 to 2,700 per setup with an extra battery. So you're looking at about 5,500 to 6,000 max.
And the weight of these backpacks compared to gas?
I got to double check that because that
Weight
came up.
10 pounds more. They said.
They're-
That's not bad,
they're
okay.
heavier.
Over a
Well,
course of a day, it
I guess
weighs,
so.
but
10
it
pounds
is.
on your back is a lot of weight.
Now, what about larger blower equipment other than backpacks? That's not
Nothing on
available.
the market.
Nothing on the
That's,
market.
that's the largest
What,
you'd buy.
It's the largest.
feedback from the landscapers at that meeting get together, what did they say?
Mixed bag. You know, it's a mixed bag. You had some people who were receptive. You had some people who were totally not receptive, and you had
Yeah.
people who voiced their honest opinions and concerns. It's a big capital outlay. Number one. Okay, so that's why, like, it's been mentioned. Wait till January.
expense,
If you time your law where it goes into January, it gives them a few more months into December, January, February, March to buy this kind of equipment. Right now, we're still in the issue of the whole issue with the supply chain. Batteries are not available still. So even for this equipment, there are still some issues in getting equipment. So just be mindful of that.
The more
Even the
time, the
equipment we're
better.
looking at right now, one of the steel dealers has the backpack blower, doesn't have the battery. It's on the back order for 8 months.
8
Wow.
months.
Yeah.
8 months.
What happens if we put this into effect and people can't get the
Equipment, then-
equipment?
That's
They're not
why-
buying- the landscapers will have to buy it.
Well,
That's-
but
well,
this
that's
is just
my
something.
point.
to
They may
keep
have
in
the same
mind.
problem.
Yes.
So is this
the
a
more
wholesale
time, the
price
better.
or what is
That's
this?
why next
This
year.
is the retail price to us?
These are retail
That's why
prices. These are
get
not
it in the
prices
law
that
now.
are afforded
Wow.
to us. I would have to explore what's on state contract, what's on not, what's on nationwide
So
piggyback
for these
contract.
landscapers, if we're giving them till, next year to get this going, would they even be able to get the proper equipment?
What Husqvarna is telling us is that the smaller batteries right now are coming in probably this month, next month. They're starting to roll out. The larger batteries are still a little hard to get a hold of.
And different landscapers may make different decisions. Like Greg set up that Zoom call today with the sustainability committee, and David was on. Stephanie, were you on? Right, you were on. And that guy uses just regular non-commercial Home Depot type ones, hand blowers. Like he doesn't use the backpack, but he said he goes out with 10 batteries per blower, so he carries 10 batteries, and they last 15, 20 minutes max. So that's the trade-off of not having. This one that we looked at will go 45 minutes on turbo or an hour and a half on non-turbo.
About an hour and a half to hour 40 minutes.
But again, if we're just looking at blowing grass clippings off of hardscape.
Well, for us, we have
You're not talking, no, but I'm saying for the average contractor hitting a homeowner.
yeah.
You're looking at hardscapes.
Yeah.
You're looking at making it look neat. You're not looking at blowing all the leaves off of
Right.
someone's property because during that season, gas powered's allowed
Right.
under our legislation.
So just so you know what we do in parks, just so it's really clear. So we cut the grass and then we do the hardscapes, like the mayor said.
Tennis
And the other
courts.
things we do is the tennis courts and the basketball courts. We clear them off with the blowers. So that's our use. in our
And to
parks.
me, I'm sorry. I know it's an inconvenience having to change routines for the crew potentially, but to me, this is an investment in the health of our community.
I understood. I just want to make it clear what we do, what we use it for, and what we would replace it with.
Michael, are there 110 blowers that homeowners would use it for at their homes? That
There are. Yeah, but now you're dragging
now
along an
landscapers?
extension cord.
I'm just curious.
I
Are they any
see
more
it-
I had
powerful?
one of those that
I
could
actually
drove
see
me
it all the
crazy.
time
Not
in
really?
driveways.
No,
I had one. It drove me crazy with the cord.
Not really.
that's what I have, a corded one. I was just curious. They're not.
No, you're limited. At the end of the day, you're still limited to the physical size of the piece of equipment. And even the handheld one that was brought down, it looks like your old, I don't know, it looks like your old Black & Decker.
Dust buster.
It looks just like a dust
Dust
buster.
buster.
Yeah.
So we have one here at the yard that was brought down by Husqvarna with the battery. Those batteries are a little more available. But once again, 25 minutes.
Husqvarna said that it's about the output is the power is about 60% of their gas version of the same commercial version. So it's about 60% power of a gas.
Well, an example of our backpack blower and what Husqvarna brought down, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but our blower, and I believe it's in your backup material, our gas blower, Red Max, is 210 miles an hour at 900 CFM. Okay? The Husqvarna equivalent is like 170 miles an hour, but it's only like maybe 550 CFM. So
So that's a
there is a
trade-off.
noticeable difference.
Now, on the positive side of it, the nice part about the backpack battery, which is a much bigger battery, you're talking about a battery. You can, if you buy other pieces of equipment, you could use the backpack battery with an insert that
Interchangeable.
goes onto the other pieces of equipment. So you can use like,
It is an adapter that
you can
plugs
use
into
it.
a weed whacker.
Yeah, you can
a
use
hedge
weed whackers,
trimmer,
hedge trimmers,
hole saw.
using the same backpack powder with battery, which will last a little longer. So that's a nice part of it, because it's, even when you're not using it as a home use, when you're carrying it all day, it's a lot better to put it on your back, even though it's more weight than the weight on your arms.
So my concern is we're making this output, and I know and I hear you, what you're saying, we want to make our community safer. The equipment really is just being made now. These are
Developed,
major
yeah.
competitors, the commercial competitors. There's
Your
only two of
mainstream
them.
companies are just
Okay,
now
so
starting to
it's
roll
just coming
it out,
to the
yes.
mainstream now.
Yeah.
So we're going to invest this amount of money, and in 1 year, there's gonna be a new model, because they're gonna see that other legislatures are enacting this kind of law, so other people are gonna have to also convert, so there'll be enough more need. Do you feel that this is a good time to do this?
Well, there's a perfect example of that where Husqvarna brought down 2 weed whackers. One was an older model and one was a brand new model that they just rolled out now.
Right.
The older model is 2 years old. The newer model is basically brand new, and it has more power and it has a few more accessories and features to it. So
Right.
that's just an example, but it's no different than a cell phone. It's no different than
Of course.
other things. This technology's changing, tools are changing. So, is it advantageous now? That's up to the board to decide. Okay, for me, it's we will make it work in our fleet like we do anything else.
Well,
Yes, is it gonna be a
Michael?
change? Yes.
All I was gonna say is, if every municipality adopted the idea that we won't wanna do it now because the things are changing, then there would be no incentive to.
Right, that's not what I
Yes.
meant. I meant, does he think that this is, what I mean
reality-
to
yeah,
say is this the time to do it, or do you wanna wait for one more model year to come out?
I'll answer. My opinion is, if you're
give
going to
your
do it. This year is no different than next year.
Right.
If you're waiting for it to catch up to gas, it's not going to. It's not in the foreseeable future. So if the policy decision is we want to do it for noise and emissions, this year is as good as next year. Every year there'll be some models that will make improvements, but don't kid ourselves thinking that it's going to match the output of the gas
That's
anytime
that's
soon.
clear.
Yeah.
How about the warranty? What kind of warranty is it to protect our investment?
Let me just hop on that answer as well. Now that your main players in the industry are coming out, I am comfortable exploring it and purchasing it. That's why we kind of waited this long.
Right.
Because we've talked about this months ago.
Yeah.
And I kind of held off on it because I wanted to see your mainstream companies coming out.
Okay.
Now I'm comfortable that they're out, they invested time and technology, and they're out. So, listen, it's always going to change. Let's be honest. It's always going to change. It's always going to be bigger, badder, smarter. At a certain point, we have to jump. And I think we're at a point where we're kind of comfortable at this point. We're going to jump and take that leap of faith. Warranty, I did not ask, but I believe typically contractor grade equipment only comes with like a 1 or 2 year warranty. I have to ask that question. I didn't ask that question of Husqvarna. But normally anything that we buy as far as equipment is typically only a 1 year contractor warranty. Some equipment like chainsaws, things do come with longer warranties because they do know what they have to do. But I will ask about that.
Thank you, that was very helpful.
But what I've heard on the warranty end, from talking to Steel and other vendors, is you bring in your equipment, they give you another one, and you go out and use it almost like a loaner tool while they fix something if they don't have some.
And there's a dealer nearby?
There are a number of dealers for both brands in the area.
One thing I learned I didn't think about, but it makes sense, is that in the colder months you're going to get less life out of a battery, and in the warmer months, actually the heat will actually be better for it.
It's about
That's
I didn't
Same
think, I
thing
didn't
for
think
your
about
home
it. Yeah,
equipment.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like your car battery.
Yeah, I didn't think
Right.
about it that way for that type of use.
Yeah, your cranking amps actually decrease in the cold weather. Yeah. But I think think we're at the point where we will be taking a leap of faith. Once we meet with Steel, which is at the end of the month, we're gonna pick one and run with it.
Yeah, and I,
Because also we standardize, at that point, we're standardizing batteries, we're standardizing chargers.
Right, you wanna
So it's
make
a big
sure
change for us. It's like when we changed from our big dump trucks from a Sterling truck to Freightliner. We just didn't jump ship and buy Freightliner. It's the same now with our Ford dump trucks. We're going from Ford to Dodge Rams. It didn't just happen overnight. There's a reason why we did things. And the same thing here. Once we pick a brand, that's it. We're standardizing across the board for parts, for material, for service. It's not just, okay, let's go to Home Depot, get a battery. It's not that easy with this kind of equipment.
Right.
Okay.
All right, I think you heard enough with
Well,
the
sounds
equipment.
like-
That was a good education.
Yeah, it sounds like you
Make it
could be
work.
the
We're-
leader and get them to give you great pricing because you're gonna.
I'm sure you'll find some place, some consortium that's.
I've already done that. I'm not going to say anything here because I don't think this is the right place to talk about
Got
that,
it.
but we will be exploring our purchasing options and pricing, yes.
You're the best, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank
So
you.
we're still talking about who we're exempting, right? We're back to
Yeah,
that?
so,
sorry.
so the idea here would be not to exempt the village, but put in the policy that in the parks, we'd be using the electric only. The idea
This
being,
is because more public's in the parks.
well,
right? Is
well,
it
the idea being, the idea,
The idea.
thank you, being that this is what the village does that most similarly replicates what's being done on the homeowners' properties. We're mowing, we're maintaining lawn. We're not doing that in other parts of the village. In other parts of the village, we're responding if a tree comes down across Ridge Street. We're out there cutting the tree. We're getting everything cleared as quickly as possible to open the road back up. And so this represents, the parks represent what most closely resembles what's being done on the other properties.
Okay, so we talked about the village. What about all the other exemptions?
let me go through the list one by one.
Let's go one by one.
School districts, you're allowed, and you are, council could comment on that, but the school districts.
Except for school construction purposes.
Yeah, still construction's exempt. What about, real quick, I don't mean to change the subject, construction. How about contractors? I guess they use electric anyway on the job. Like they're doing work, additions, renovations, if they're blowing stuff around, but they wouldn't use gas.
That's in the
They
legislation
would use,
already for
they would use
cleanup,
electric.
cleanup of stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Now they'd use electric.
We don't do that much.
Yeah. Okay, keep going, sorry.
It's really the lawn people.
Yeah.
Not really different from us.
Right. How do you
That's
feel
it.
about the school
That's
district?
all.
No? Oh, I thought you were going
No,
one
no,
by
we're
one.
going one by one. Let's go one by one.
They're on the school right now.
Yeah, or do
You
we
know,
want to talk about
remember,
all-
all the, with this, taxes are all it's gonna cost and yeah, it's all gonna cost everybody more money, right? We know that. It's inevitable. Because all the equipment's expensive. School's gonna buy equipment that's gonna be more expensive.
They'll be like us.
It'd be like us. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a real big
Bite.
bite across the board. Speaking of the school budget, right? That's gonna be a big one
I mean,
this
it's
year.
like,
I
it's
think
like
it's
every,
making a huge
They don't
dent.
even have it in
know, I
their
just-
budget right
I
now,
don't think it's
so
making a huge dent.
Yeah, they're not gonna, right.
they can't even put it in for next
Maybe we
year right
should,
now, can they?
step them in later on. I don't know.
Okay, so you think exempt the school for now, but maybe
Yeah, let
Budget's
them,
only going up.
it's
every
just gonna be, it's,
my personal feeling was that originally I was of the belief that we didn't, I know on construction, they don't have to follow our zoning laws. We don't have any control over the school districts themselves. And remember, we're
Right.
talking about multiple school districts here.
maybe we shouldn't, we should
And-
leave them exempt then.
And
Anyway.
so my feeling was that we allow the schools to make their decisions, but
They're a bigger piece of property, they're away from, maybe
They're
not.
away.
really butt houses.
I also don't
I
know what
guess
their
so.
practices are.
so can
I feel like it's
Yeah,
just
I
so
guess.
hypocritical of us to say that, oh, these people are exempt, but everyone else, you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that so hypocritical. I feel like we either no exemptions or we allow a bunch of exemptions.
I didn't
I-
catch what other municipalities are doing with that.
Well, There's a wide range. The way our legislation was originally drafted was based on other municipals.
City of Rise.
Was based on the city of Rye.
What are they doing? What, I didn't,
Just with that, they exempt I had Greg call around to municipalities, so out of the 11 he talked to, I asked about the municipalities, 8 out of the 11 are exempt municipalities, 3 do not.
golf courses?
But the municipality, school district, religious institutions, membership clubs, golf courses, hospitals, retirement communities, utility companies, cemeteries, and the driveway sealing and paving, that's straight out of the Rye legislation,
All exempt.
all exempt.
I think we can take hospitals out of there.
Golf courses exempt.
We don't have a hospital.
Well,
So that's their
maybe
legislation.
that's what we should do. Try that. Exempt everybody.
Well,
That
what about HOAs? Do we add them in then? Because
25% of your, of Rybrook is exempt based on what we're just talking about, if not 33%.
And the idea, and back to,
That's not equitable, and I also think that it is,
Fair. Yeah.
contrary to what we think we should be moving towards.
back to Trustee Heiser's point, I think right now, my feeling is we're looking for something incremental. I mean, we could take the grand step and just ban gas leaf blowers altogether, everywhere.
Sure. There's a lot we could do.
But, I don't have the appetite for that. So
what if
I'm,
we did like the first year exemptions and then we try phasing them out? Is that something we can do?
That's a plan.
I think it's definitely worth a discussion.
When you say phase
Step
them out,
step the exemptions in.
here,
Yeah.
So the
Following-
Give it-
individuals are the ones that really get the hit and.
Yes, that's correct.
I mean,
it's sort of like pulling off
really.
a Band-Aid. At some point in time, they're gonna have to just bite the bullet and do this. I mean, once again, let's go back to why we're doing this,
Right.
which is to reduce air pollution, reduce noise pollution. We're not doing this because we have something against gas blowers
Right.
per se.
Right.
And so, to me, the only exemption should be ones that make sense, not because somebody's gonna go boo-hoo, I don't like it.
Right.
I
And
don't
to
really
me, I
think-
think that's
Can't
why
be- can't
I'm
really-
fine exempting the village, but putting in policy that parks, we're not gonna use gas power.
I don't see a reason why the golf course can't make the conversion. I don't see why the schools can't do it. I'm just not hearing any reason other than the fact that they won't want to.
Well, did we hear from the golf courses? Or did we hear from them?
Yeah, I met with them.
Expensive.
And how would
What
they,
did
what
they say?
would they say?
The problem I see with the golf course is I think my recommendation was, again, you could eliminate some exemptions that just don't clearly apply to Rybrook, like the hospitals. But I would recommend that you consider leaving the exemptions in, but form a subcommittee of the village board and sustainability committee and the staff to meet with these groups and come up with a transition plan that is reasonable.
Right.
Because I think there's certain different
Okay.
situations at each one of these. For instance, we met with the golf course, we met with Bridget, Greg and I, Bridget and Michael all met at the golf course just to learn what their operations are. And they have a lot of electric equipment. I mean, they have electric mowers for a lot of the property. They do have electric leaf blowers for around the clubhouse, but they have certain equipment like they could do more on. Maybe they could do the greens using the electric blowers. But the one piece of equipment they have trouble with would be the fairways are done through a 4-cycle engine, which is quieter and more efficient than the 2 cycles that you see that we're legislating. But what they're doing is there's a type of equipment that doesn't have an electric equivalent. That's the concern that I would have if I was making a recommendation. That's a problem. So either, you may need to allow that on fairways or allow 4-cycle type blowers on fairways or something. But there's certain operations here that I think you would have trouble duplicating it even at a lower power level on like a golf course. I think there's certain ones that you could. I think the retirement communities, I would recommend, again, meeting with like King Street Home and find out what their operations are. To me, the grass space is pretty straightforward. I don't think that would be as heavy a lift. Atria, I don't think, has a lot of grass space. So I think if you meet with them, you'd find that out. So my suggestion would be, these are commercial properties. Let's meet with these larger commercial properties, which are more separated away from residential homes, and find out a transition plan that you could legislate. That's my recommendation.
That's why I think we need more time.
Sound
But I-
acceptable?
Part of my issue is that we're claiming that it's a noise issue, and I would say that the truth is that it's the mowers that are creating more of a noise issue than the blowers. And we're not reducing that at all by this legislation. And that's where a lot of people that wrote me letters are like, well, the noise is just crazy. And that's really not what we're doing here.
That's,
We're not helping them.
to me, the intention isn't noise.
It's the particulates.
Is the air pollution. These
The
gas-powered
mowers are
leaf
having air
blowers.
pollution even more than the blowers because they're
No.
going much longer.
Well, the four-cycle,
No.
the lawnmowers are four-cycle, the leaf blowers are two-cycle. Two-cycle definitely does pollute more, I can assure you that. They're really smoky.
And the other
They
thing
get
is,
burn oil.
I think you're also,
Yeah, you know,
the other
it's a-
consideration you're doing is,
But-
you're trying to reduce noise and emissions, but you're doing it on a piece of equipment that's a leaf blower during non-leaf season.
Right.
So it's really the use of using this equipment for more either convenience or aesthetic cleaning up.
More convenience,
More
yeah, I
than
understand.
blowing leaves. So I think that's one difference. Lawn mowing, you're doing it to the lawn because it has to be cut. So there is some things that are differentiated that way.
I like Chris's idea of
We should have,
the exemptions, meeting with them and doing a transition plan and seeing how
Come
they
back with
operate.
recommendations, yeah.
I feel like that's really the best way to try and accommodate.
I think we'll learn more about what their operations are, and tell them this is coming.
Yeah.
Accept it.
Right.
Now, what can we do to make this happen? And
Right.
Make it
how long do
easier.
you need? You know.
make it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
How long do we
But
need to
I-
make this?
yeah, I
How long
feel
is it going
like-
to take? What is the real backup on buying equipment? What's the lead time on
Right.
buying? The golf course has
Right.
18 leaf blowers. How long will it take to? Can you go out and buy that? Right now.
Right. But then I feel
Well, I
like
imagine they're contracting out as well.
I don't know. They do it in house. They do
Yeah.
it. They have their own groundskeeper. No, the golf course.
Oh, the golf course.
oh
Yeah, that's their own
I
staff.
thought we were back to
Atria, I think, would be. I don't think that would be a heavy lift.
Right.
King Street Nursing Home has a ton of property up there,
Mm-hmm.
a ton. But I feel like then, in the vein of these exemptions, then I feel like we maybe should include the HOAs as well, and then meet with them as well and see what their plan is and their transition is, because they also have a lot of property.
You could. That's a question for the board if you guys want to do that.
My feeling is that we should minimize the exemptions, let people come to us and say, we would like you to amend the law to give us an exemption, but start out with, you don't have one. Now convince us, much like when you go to the zoning board of appeals and say, I want an exemption, I want a variance. Okay, but if you start out with everybody having an exemption, it's just gonna remain in perpetuity. I'd like to see them work to get an exemption, not simply just say, oh gee, you have one.
Do you want them to? You could do that two different ways. You could just set the hearing without the exemptions and have people come to the hearing and decide whether to put it in or out, or you could create a procedure for them to come to the board requesting exemptions. Those are two different ways
And I
of doing
want
it.
that, but that would be a change of local law.
Yeah, it would be modifying the law, which we're going to do anyhow. It's a question.
Right.
I would prefer that second option, which is,
Right.
That's an option.
just have them come to us when they can get their act together, and if you want an exemption, convince us you deserve it.
It's interesting.
All right. So what is the list again?
Municipalities, school districts, religious institutions, membership clubs and golf courses. I think we can just say same thing. So we'll just
Yeah.
call it golf courses. Hospitals you could take out. Retirement communities, utility companies, cemeteries, and driveway paving and sealing. Probably like driveway paving and sealing you'd want to allow, but that's
Yeah.
other than that. And maybe utility companies because that's all street work.
Right.
Yeah, and utility companies.
Yeah.
Hospitals we take out. I mean, I'm personally okay with leaving the others in for now. But again, right now we have to just make a recommendation of what we want to be presented
See,
on
but
April 11th.
by leaving them in, then we have to justify ever taking them out.
Right.
If you take them out, let them justify why they should get the exemption. Make them have the burden of proof, not us.
How about this then?
A burden of persuasion, I should say.
Interesting way of doing it.
Because of what we've been hearing, how about the law goes into effect in January of '24? Those exemptions come off January of '25.
Completely.
Why are they getting an exemption? We just talked about why should they get one?
Yeah, well, I guess.
I kind of like David's idea of letting them come to us.
That's what I said.
So come to the board or come to the zoning board?
No, come to
I
you.
just-
Come
We're
to us.
giving
It was an
them
analogy.
time.
It was an
Okay.
analogy.
Right? We're giving them time. It's not
That would
like we're not
include
enacting
everybody.
this
It's an
to
interesting way
take
of doing it,
place.
make them come, because then
Yeah.
you could talk to them about, well, we have a contract that ends in 2 years that says you do
Right.
whatever, or they will show us, you know,
Yeah.
or you could say, you know,
This is what our price is
But
going to
does
go
this,
up.
but does this
All
mean
of our
we're getting
prices
that
are going
information before we pass the local law?
no,
That's
Or
why we
we-
need more time.
Or we,
No, I think, David, I don't want to speak for you, but is this, I think what you're saying is then you would remove all the exemptions, and it would say, except for utility companies, driveway sealing and paving and sealing. Outside of that, nobody's exempt, but if you want an exemption, you have to come to the village board for approval for an exemption or a plan for.
that means every time we
can
add
use
one of those
electric.
exemptions,
Yeah.
Well, you
Why-
wouldn't
why
have,
should
you'd
you-
have none.
hearing
No.
and
They can use
Your
redoing
local law would establish
That's
that
light
you
stuff.
need
It's
approval of the
like
village
saying.
board to be exempted.
that
not
become, but
leaves.
then a future board can simply say, we don't like the law at all.
Future
That's
board could
correct,
do
but
that
if-
anyway.
Or
That's
could
true,
change
they
the
could
law,
do it
yeah.
anyway.
That won't work as a reason.
That's true, they could just get rid of the law.
Yeah,
Right, essentially that's what's becoming.
Exactly, and justify it.
You-
That's all. Just justify it.
yeah, you may say, all right, we need 2 years to do it, so you put that in
So
and say.
Stephanie, to your point, if the arborist wants to claim that they should have an exemption, let them justify it.
Right.
Don't
And the
just
same
say,
thing,
Are
I
we
feel like,
limiting that to commercial properties only?
I feel like it should be
Can
all
a
of them.
homeowner come and request an exemption?
if you could fashion
Are
it.
we, is that what our village board meetings are gonna become?
Yeah.
Like the tree meetings we used to have with the trees.
And still do.
See,
Yeah, but this is
I don't know why.
more
Oh, no,
common than,
I meant when we were on the environmental committee and people wanted to take down trees.
You could also do it, so I'm just throwing ideas out, but you could also do it maybe any property over a certain number of acres or something can apply for
Can
the
apply.
zone.
Ah,
for
that's a good
exemption.
idea.
I don't know what that break point is,
An
but
acre? 1 acre? Could that be
No.
the, why?
2 acres.
more than that.
Why
An
there's
acre
no
and a half?
properties here with 2 acres
Think
or
about,
more.
think about the properties we were just discussing. They're all over
But
that
for
size.
homeowners.
yeah, but that would knock out.
well, that'll knock out the homeowners then.
Exactly, we're knocking out a
Smallest
homeowner.
of the properties we just discussed is probably Atria.
They have several acres.
So if you made it 2 acres or more to apply for an exemption, I would think that would eliminate any potential for a homeowner to apply.
That's right.
I have 2 acres. I'm going to apply for an exemption.
Let's make it 3 acres.
You have like
Change it into 2.
Five?
You have like the Ponderosa.
How about,
I'm applying
maybe-
for an exemption.
maybe,
I want I
5
want you guys
acres.
to come with
Whatever
the
the- whatever the-
electric
whatever the-
backhoe.
If you're on the sustainability
Residential
committee, I don't
properties
think
that
you
got
should
the
be
biz-
applying
biggest
for
acres.
a,
You're
I
not
want
allowed.
the electric one. I want the commercial electric one to come to my house with a backpack.
I think
I'll tell Phil.
That's an interesting way of doing
Put
it.
it on my
'cause then-
tab,
acres.
Michael.
so the properties over 5 acres.
5.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. No, I think 2.
So if
Then
you-
go
so if
with
you made
three.
it
then go with
three,
3.
Has bigger than
with
2.
three.
The idea is we want to limit
Exceeds all our zoning.
residential
bigger
if
than
you're going to
2?
do it, right?
Do we have
Personal?
what's a 3 acre
3 acres?
property?
Can't think of any 3.
3 acres.
Which one? The one lot?
I'm a 2.
They're not getting it.
Are any of the properties that we mentioned as potential exemptions under 5 acres? 5 acres.
I don't know.
My husband has a gas leaf blower. I'll admit it.
Ooh,
I've got a battery one.
it's on the record.
Well, you know what? You can get him for a Hanukkah present.
Let's,
I do, exactly. That'll be his
I
Hanukkah
think,
present.
do we like this idea?
About the exemption,
I like this
exempt.
idea.
you
Yeah.
come up with
nothing's
reasonable
exempt.
plans.
But we
Unless
allow
they-
a process for
Yes.
properties over 5 acres.
Right, we have to walk the walk.
Does that
I think
does that make sense to put in as the proposal. We're not deciding
But
on
how big is
it.
the atria? Is that
It's a good-
5 acres of property? That
I
seems
think they
small.
should be able to do it. There's not that much grass areas that they're blowing.
No, they're
I don't think.
mostly building
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I wouldn't
driveway.
imagine they'd even apply.
Maybe we do like
And you
3
you still have to
acres.
approve it, so regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds,
Right, so
But does
maybe,
this sound okay to put in?
Yeah.
the-
that sounds like
But if
a
we did-
fair.
Let's do that,
I think
Chris.
we could do 3
We
acres.
remove all exemptions, but establish the process
Mm-hmm.
for properties over 5 acres to apply for exemption.
But don't you think
Okay,
we should
real-
do 3 acres?
Real
in
quick,
case
whether
there's
it's,
any-
we have to figure out what it makes sense, right? Whether it's 3, 5.
We'll also go back and look at some of the.
That's why I think we're rushing into this thing. We should be discussing it more.
Okay, I
Well,
like
we're
that
only talking about
idea.
drafting
Yeah.
redrafting legislation.
Yeah.
We're not, you're not approving anything
It costs
tonight.
us money each
I don't
time
talk
we
today, I'm talking
wanna
about next meeting.
redraft. That's why we should be talking about it and then getting to it.
Okay.
Or you only allow exemptions on commercial property, not residential.
Right.
Could do
Yeah,
that
we're
too.
doing-
We do instead of, and then don't worry.
But you want it to be over a certain size. You don't want.
Yeah, if it's commercial
Small
properties
commercials.
over 5 acres.
So you gotta figure out the matrix. where that-
No, that's right. Not right now. So, because I'm thinking like also municipal, like.
Is St. Paul's a commercial property?
Yeah, see, I wouldn't go that way. I'd do it over a certain size. It'll knock out all the residential
All right.
over a certain size.
All I wanna do
Tentatively,
is
let's
figure
go
out
with
what is the
5,
smallest number
based
that
on a
will
little
eliminate all.
Little
Based-
research. If it looks
based on a little
unreasonable,
research.
if it looks unreasonable, I'll let the board know.
Yes, based on a little
I kind of like
research.
3 a little better, but.
What?
3's too small.
What I
We'll look it up.
suggested
We'll
is,
look it up and say
whatever
what
the
this is what they
smallest
are.
number is, that will eliminate all personal properties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5.
And if just one or two, we'll deal with it. You know? If
Like me?
it's- Yeah. Huh? No, that residential. Yeah, like you.
All right.
Then
So
I
it
can get like
sounds like.
chickens.
So
The
it sounds
chickens.
right. The chickens.
Then I'm gonna get some chickens.
But you're allowed chickens if you don't get the exemption.
Okay.
So it sounds
What is
like
it? One skinny
we
chicken. right?
have. I think we've covered the major bases here.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like we have our proposal of what the proposed legislation is going to look like at our next public hearing.
You good?
And I really, really appreciate this discussion amongst the board. This is not an easy topic. It's not often, most of our meetings, we fly
Smooth.
through. There's not much really of, this kind of substance that we have to discuss.
And can I just say a thank you to Greg for all the meetings
Yeah.
that have sustainability and the research
Yes,
and
thank
all the
you.
reaching out to
Thank
the
you,
municipalities and everything
Yeah,
else.
and organizing all
Yeah.
those people to come and speak to us.
He's been very persistent
Lot
in
of
keeping it
work.
on track. And also Michael for working with some of the commercials and working with our landscapers to try to provide more educational information, not just for us, but for them too.
And I think that shows how seriously we take this.
I think they appreciated
But
that
we are
part
not-
of it that we were
That
including.
That
I
we
pushed
are
the
not
hats in.
arbitrarily making decisions on this.
Right.
We are doing our homework, and we are trying to
I think
also, as a village, act in what's in the best interest of our community as a village, of what we're doing with our operations, which is why we're investing in those, in that equipment.
And I think the landscapers even appreciated that we were including them as part of the
Yeah.
discussion. They voiced
Absolutely.
that. And we had probably, 6 different companies that were there, maybe?
I was
that
going
we're
to
at
say, I
there,
mean, I
which is
think
good.
that, quite frankly, I think that there are many more companies that would be interested in seeing it, and we should afford them the opportunity to do that if we're making all of our residents have companies. Most people don't do
Right.
their own. I think that if we allow days like this, where you're effectively helping the companies also sell their
And that's,
equipment. I think that
Yeah.
homeowners, we can contact homeowners and they can let their people know. It's not fair to just
Right.
pick a few.
and that's why, and that's where this, the 2023 year of heavy education and public outreach is so important, and having as much time as possible to do that, so that we can then say, here's what our law is, here's what's going to be allowed, here's what's not going to be allowed.
Well, what
Here's
about
here's the summer growing season. Here's demonstrations that I'm sure the companies would be more than willing to come out if we assembled it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they want to demo their products, because that's how they're gonna make sales.
Right.
Let me throw out one other idea, because I know Sal is upset about the January first. What would happen if we made this effective 1 year from the date? Which would make it April 11, 2024.
Doesn't change anything.
It really, what
Would
it would
give them a few
change,
extra
it would
months.
give them a few extra months. We'd miss the January.
I'm
February
looking
when
for more
people aren't-
discussion. I'm not looking to, I'm definitely 24. I'm looking for more discussion, not voting on it
I
until
misunderstood.
another 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
But
wanna,
that's an idea.
That's what my
That
thought
may
is.
give them,
It
if
is an
it's,
idea, especially if the batteries are not even available.
Would give
right,
them
and it
full
may,
12
you're
months.
losing nothing because they're not
Because the
using that
spring
equipment.
cleanup-
I know,
Yes,
I know.
the spring
12
cleanup
months.
dates didn't really go into effect. So the potential then is to make it effective 1 year after.
So it's at May 1st?
Yeah, I think that's probably,
what
because
it
when does
starts,
the
right?
spring cleanup time end?
Was it
May
May
1st?
1st or June 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
May
It doesn't
1st,
matter.
24.
May 1st.
May 1st. So we make it May 1st, 2024 for it to go into
Mm-hmm.
effect.
It goes in, right, what's the
Right,
difference?
But there are some issues,
Okay.
and that was
Yeah.
if there's a big storm or whatever, what are you going to do in that case?
That's allowable.
Yes.
Gas is, so let's say we get a hurricane comes through, we have blowdowns all over the place, there's branches, there's
We
leaves.
just totally let
It's-
everybody
it's
do as
allowed.
they want.
Extenuating
That
circumstances.
the contractors, the homeowners are allowed to, the property owners within Rybrook are allowed to use it during that time.
The way it's written now is that actually Michael
Can make a decision.
would have the
Yes.
ability to spend for 7 days, and per his discretion, he can
Right.
extend it.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you could have rent yours out.
And again,
It's
They're
it's
allowed
actually like
during
the little Black and Decker.
leaf season.
He uses it to clean the garage.
Right, I hear you.
Not even the leaves.
Be allowed to issue, for 7 days.
You'll see it. Sections.
Okay.
So just in summary, the local law is going to be modified for now. That'll say the leaf blowers that electric leaf blowers are going to be allowed during the ban period, anywhere on the property. It's going to go in effect on May 1st, 2024, and we'll focus on an education campaign before that. And also the elimination will only be the utility companies and for driveway paving and sealing, and emergency situations, we'll say.
Right.
And also, you can apply for an exemption for anything. Currently, the number is 5 acres, over 5 acres, and yeah, we'll do some other little cleanup.
There's no
But basically, that's
exemptions
it.
for anybody, even the pavers, et cetera.
No, we said for paving, driveway sealing.
Why?
Because you got to clean off the driveway before you seal.
Before you
Then
seal.
why don't they just use a gas one,
An electric one.
an electric one, excuse me?
I don't know if now you're getting into a different contractor, all the driveway companies, whether or not they have, they're just gonna clear it off before they seal it. It's not a big deal, I wouldn't think. It's literally, and it's only when you're sealing, so it's not like it's every year or it's at most once every other year, maybe for sealing. Yeah, every 3
Well,
years.
Need it, yeah.
Need it too.
So you want to exempt, you want to exempt the
Utilities and the paving and driveway work.
residential driveways?
Yeah.
The
Or any
electric-
kind of driveway work.
So all you need is electric for that. That's like the easiest thing to clean
Yeah,
off,
but they
right?
don't necessarily have it if they're.
If that's not their business, then they don't have, that's what he's saying.
Well, the electric is cheaper. They would probably plug one in for crying out loud at that stage.
If you don't want to do it, it's up to you guys. But
That would be a company coming in every time they have to seal
a
a
different
driveway
sealing
and-
company. It's easier to find the local landscapers because people have contracts with them.
Yeah.
You hiring a driveway sealer is probably once every couple of
Well,
years.
Why don't we leave it for now, and then we can.
Okay.
Leave it for now.
All right.
Okay. And emergencies.
I think
Okay.
that's a stupid exemption.
And there'll be the application process for it to go to the village board.
I didn't have any mac and cheese. I'm
Okay.
It's good.
Sorry.
All right. Is that
But
it?
my point was not to rule on it on April 11th because we're doing the budget stuff. That's what I was saying. Like,
Right. Well, I wanted to do it on March 28th.
You were outvoted.
I was.
They took a vote of
So,
all the.
so what I'm
That's fine.
saying
Ever had the
is,
title
It's
mayor.
just the presentation. It'll be, the real work for the budget goes in those sessions, the work sessions, as you know.
all right,
That it's, it's the presentation,
Which will be a little different this year anyhow, because it's going to be the online version. We're not going to do it the same type of thing. It'll be a little more straightforward. It'll be different. I haven't even thought about that part yet.
No.
You just started off, Chris, with a funny thing happened on the way to the budget presentation.
Yes, exactly. The other thing, we did have a very good meeting with the Durrell Greens and Durrell Arrowwood, so we're working on
Right.
something to work cooperatively. Everybody that met was all agreeable to work out a plan for property maintenance. So, I'm expecting a draft agreement this week, and we'll be able to refer it and look at it. But I think everybody who met was all working on the same page, which is good.
Great.
Good.
Okay, that's nice to hear. Okay.
Great.
That's that.
That's that. All right. So the next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be March 28th and April 11th. We also have the budget work sessions the days prior to those. Both of those. Woof. Busy. All right. At least we don't have MS4 in those.
Unless you want, we could give an interim report. You want an interim report?
No, that's quite all right.
No,
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
thank you.
What happens to your finger?